Well, James Hardie is coming back to the Cincinnati Cyclones, getting ready for his first full professional season. Hardie, we'll start with just kind of a welcome back and take me through your summer a little bit. These player signings continue. Painter's bringing a guy back. It feels like every week that was here last year, albeit you probably had more or less a cup of coffee than a real kind of full run in the ECHL. So what is the summer looking like for you as you're getting ready to step into what's expected to be another 72-game season, first of its kind for you?
Yeah, I've just been training every day, in the gym every morning, trying to get stronger. My extra meeting with Painter, it was good, but the big thing was just getting stronger and bigger. Coming in, I'm playing against a lot of older guys than me, obviously. So, just getting stronger on my feet and, having, being able to get in the corners and battle with those older guys is a big thing. So, I've been working hard every day in the gym and getting stronger and getting ready to come in for a long season, like you said. I mean, I've only played the OHL, we play 68 games, but those extra 4 games are still a lot.
Yeah, and then of course for you, like you have the weird experience in that your cup of coffee was more spent in the Kelly Cup playoffs than it was in the regular season. You played 2 games with Cincinnati in the regular season. Just kind of to be honest, at that point, it was pretty much a throwaway weekend in Kansas City. The Clones already knew where they were going to finish. But then you go into the postseason, had a goal and an assist, playing against Fort Wayne and Toledo those first 2 rounds of the playoffs. I mean, what was that like? You talk about playing against men instead of kids, but you're also playing against against people in the playoffs where it feels like every time you dump a puck, if you go to chase it, you're going to get bodied along the glass. People are playing so rough, and the playoffs are kind of just a totally different beast than what regular season hockey is like.
Yeah, exactly. I think, going into Kansas City, the team kind of knew where they were at, but it was nice to kind of get that first little touch in for the first 2 games and kind of just feel what it's going to like. And, going to playoffs, it was a really cool experience, playing in Cincinnati since we were in Kansas for the first 2 games. I wasn't playing in Cincy, so getting back for game one in Cincinnati was really cool to see, all the fans came out and how packed it was in that rink and how electric it is. And it was really cool. And then, moving on to Toledo, like going into that rink, like sold out crowd, like it's pretty sweet to see be a part of that. And to score my first goal was also pretty cool. I mean, it's a playoff goal, so I guess it doesn't really count as my first goal, but it's still a pretty cool experience, and I had a lot of fun.
Couple questions about that one. You say it doesn't count, and I've talked to Viver about this because he is the for those that don't know, Justin Vive will be there to talk about every stat in Cyclones history. Like, this guy knows the book. We were talking one time about like how, yeah, like for him, he had 600 games played last year. Like, that was a milestone. Or sorry, it was 700 in Kansas City, but it didn't count as playoff games. And I'm like, Viver, like those are like the hardest games, and he agrees, like it's just weird. So like scoring a goal in the playoffs, to me, I would much rather score a goal in the playoffs than I would in the regular season, but it doesn't count. That said, I'm sure it was a special moment. I first want to ask you, please tell me somebody at least gave you the puck.
Yeah, I got the puck at home. I gave it to my dad. It's sitting up in a little cabinet over here.
Okay, so then if the regular season comes and you score your first regular season goal, is that puck going to be for you to keep?
I don't know. I guess maybe there'll be 2 pucks in the cabinet, two first goals.
So that's the first one. Now here's the harder question about that, and you know this. I've done an interview with you before, and we do a lot of radio interviews throughout the season, usually after a game leading into the next one. Well, there was no next game after your goal. Kind of a weird goal. Like, I was excited on the air for you. I mean, I sat next to you on the bus a little bit there those last couple of weeks, but it's hard to be like, oh, and he scores, it's 8-2. I mean, it's just the reality of it. At this point, it's been a couple of months. We can look back and laugh at it. What was it like on the ice? There has to be a part of you that's like, oh, I scored. There's excitement. But the reality of the situation is the goal, like you said, it doesn't matter because it's in the playoffs. Well, you'd probably rather have scored a goal to make it 1-1 or go ahead 2-1 than kind of in throwaway time because the game is pretty much over at that point. So like, take me through your emotions on the ice, your teammates that were on the ice with you during that, because it's kind of like, all right, we sort of know we're still only playing a few more minutes.
Yeah, so it was definitely weird because it was in the third period and we were down by quite a bit. But I just remember I got the puck over the blue line and I just threw it on net and it kind of just like creeped through the goalie's arm and it just like trickled over the line. And like it's one of those things where like it's your first goal, so you want to celebrate, but you're down 9-2 and you're like, ooh, maybe we shouldn't. And then, I skated around the net and Viber was like, oh, first goal, like congratulations, dude. He was like more excited than I was, I think. And that was just cool for him to even get me the puck, like with that guy's his statistics he's got throughout his life and stuff he's got going on. So like that moment was just really cool alone. Just for him to be the first guy to say congratulations and grab the puck for me was really cool.
I'm glad that Viber was the one that did it because he recognizes those milestones. He knows what everybody's doing, team milestones, individual milestones, and everything. So again, James, we're talking with James Hardie here, who's re-signed with the Cyclones for the 23-24 season. The interesting part about this, Hardz, is that you're in a situation perhaps more unique than others. You came out of junior hockey. You're a 21-year-old, so you're gonna, as of right now, be the youngest player on this roster. You're gonna be one of the youngest players in the ECHL, I would imagine. And when you're that young, coming right out of junior hockey, you have a choice of pursuing pro or going the collegiate route, which obviously wasn't an option in April of last year. You came to the ECHL, that made sense. But over the summer, and I know from talking to you, like it was not a for sure thing. Like you did not know when the season ended that you were immediately re-signing because you were debating on, taking that collegiate route. So kind of take me through the process. I know there's a puck up there for your dad, and I know how much family means to you. Was it a conversation with mom and dad? Was it a conversation with other pro athletes, guys that have played collegiate? What kind of overall went on in the process of making the determination that you were going to, in fact, come back to the ECHL and go the pro route and kind of put college on the back burner, at least for now?
Yeah, it was definitely a big conversation I had with my parents and my agent. We all kind of sat down and weighed the pros and cons and stuff. And the way I looked at it was, pro was what I wanted to do in my life and where I wanted to be. And I kind of know that you're not always going to start at the top. If you're starting at the top, like you got to be a next level hockey player. And it's sometimes it's just all about starting at the bottom and working your way up. And that's what I'm ready for. And I can still do my schooling online while I'm there and stuff. So it's not like I'm just like not going to school, but I'm gonna proceed my pro career and start there and work my way up throughout the year and go from there. But it was definitely a harder conversation because it's schooling here in the OHL when you get it, it's a big thing. You get a really good school package and you kind of get to do what you want for school wise. So it was a tough decision, but at the end of the day, I believe I made the right decision.
Well, you talk about your agent and your parents. What about Painter? I imagine there had to have at least been one phone call. What did that conversation go like? Because I know Jason Payne knew you back, even before you were in junior hockey, when you were a kid. So I know you guys have kind of a special relationship. Did you talk to him about any of that, or when did he give you a call and say, hey, I really want you back?
Yeah, I think it was I want to say a month after the season finished. I was just out with a couple buddies on the golf course and get a phone call from Jason Payne. I'm like, oh, this could be bad or it could be good. So let's find out. And I answer the phone. He goes, what are you doing? I go, oh, I'm on the golf course right now. And he goes, well, you want to come back to Cincy next year? And I was like, I don't know yet. Like, I kind of gotta weigh some options. But if I do end up coming to the East Coast League, like Cincinnati's where I want to be. It's where I would like to play. Like I love it there. Like I was only there for a month, but I just love the city and all the guys, they were so welcoming to me. And, I was only there for a short period, but I felt like a part of the team the first day I showed up. And that was a big thing. But then, throughout the last few weeks or so, I've been talking to Painter more and more. And finally it came to, I guess it was right before the qualifying offers happened. So I'm not sure exactly when that was, but he called me and he goes, so you have to make a decision yet? And I was like, oh, I don't really know, to be honest. Like I'm still kind of weighing my options. And then about 3 minutes later, I called my agent and I was like, what do you think? And he's like, well, if you want to play pro, it's what you got to do. If you want to go to school, it's what you got to do. And I was like, okay, well, I want to play pro. And then, 10 minutes later, I called Painter. I was like, okay, I'll sign, send me the contract. And I got my contract and, I couldn't be happier about it.
So one of the things you mentioned there, Hardz, is how much you loved it, even though it was a short time, just being in Cincinnati and how much fun you had doing that. I think it helps. And look, you're legally an adult, but you're looked at as a kid in the locker room. You're looked at as a kid in the league, being how young you are at just 21. Feels like every kid is on this thing, right? Everybody's on social media. Everybody's checking Twitter or X or Threads or Facebook, whatever now it is. And so you've seen, as this summer has progressed, I have no doubt that you've seen some of the guys that the Cyclones have signed. And when you look at them, as I mentioned at the start of our conversation, it just feels like there's another guy from last year, another returnee. This guy's back again. How exciting is it for you that in that sample size with the Cyclones, you looked around that dressing room and all those faces, I mean, the majority of them are going to be the same faces you're looking at in October when you enter training camp. I mean, how much of an extra boost is that to know that you're not only coming back to a city you really enjoyed in a short time, but a locker room and a coach that you really enjoyed, and knowing that, you know, while you weren't here for all of it, this team was pretty damn successful. And I mean, the odds are if you run it back with that same group of guys, you hope to have the same results.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that the team was a special group, and you know they were really good and accomplished a lot of really big things last season. And to come into that team and with the leadership that they had with Louis and Viber, like you know, Viber's probably one of the best captains we've ever had, and I was only there for a month or so. And, you know, I was a captain and junior, but you know, you learn from those guys. You know, they've been around for so long, and even if they're not, you know, by your side every day, just the way they act around the rink and the way they go about their life is just something that you pick up on and something you learn from. And you can tell by the way the team is on the ice and how they are in the room is they're respected by everybody that's around them.
One of the last things that we'll talk with you about here is something that I also want to kind of harp back on, because you made this comment a couple of minutes ago where you said that talking with your agent, and you referenced, hey, if you're not a top of the line player, if you're not a top end, you know, elite talent, you're going to have to start out in the minor leagues, and you're going to have to start out in a league like the ECHL. So you're kind of referring to yourself in that way, but at the same time, man, your points indicate a totally different story in terms of junior hockey. And I think that is a body of work that I imagine you and your support staff believe in, that can translate to the pro game. I know it's not as simple as snapping your fingers and going to bed one night and the next day turning into the ECHL's leading scorer. But you're a guy who, minus your first season in Mississauga, after that went over a point per game the rest of the way. You annihilated the OHL last year. There has to be an internal belief here that, okay, I guess coming out of junior, you're not looked at as that unbelievable elite player that's going to start out in the AHL or the NHL, but you're also 21 years old, young, with a very robust resume that says, hey, I can score goals at every level I've been at. I can produce points. I can be a playmaker. I can be a little bit of everything offensively. Is that the James Hardie that you're going to try and unlock here at this level? And ultimately, you know, this as a result, it translates to success at future levels.
Yeah, exactly. I think, you know, I've ever since I was a kid, I've always had that little knack for offense and that little touch for my offense abilities. But I think the biggest thing for me going into pro hockey is being able to play in that, you know, that bottom six role or something like that, and where I can, you know, be more physical or, you know, work harder on D zone and stuff like that, where when I get my chance to play on the offensive side is where my mindset and my, you know, my knack for that ability will come into play. Just, you know, learning to be able to play on the defensive side and be more physical and, you know, use my size. It's not like I'm a small person. It's just, you know, sometimes I'd rather just, you know, shy away and you know, just focus on the offense. But, you know, it's just coming to my first year pro hockey. I'm really looking forward to taking that step in the defensive side of things and being more physical towards myself for, you know, to generate more chances for myself.
I was just about to say, took the words out of my mouth at the end there, because defense and playing defensively will lead to offensive opportunities, certainly here in the pro game. James Hardie, again, re-signing with the Cyclones. Very excited to have this guy back. Hopefully not as good a poker player as he was last year. Hey, Hardz, actually, before we let you get going, you talked about golf. You've got the ball cap on. What are you doing this summer? We only have a little bit of time left. I know you're working out and getting ready for hockey, but away from the rink, away from the gym, what's been keeping you occupied here with the warm weather?
Yeah, I'm a really big golfer, so I play almost every day. Like, I'll go to the gym, I'll go on the ice, and then I'm right to the golf course, or I go out on my boat or something like that. But you know, I'm really big into golf, so I'm actually doing this meeting, and then I'm heading out to the course in a little bit. So, yeah, that's really what I've been up to.
All right, fair enough. Just like every Ontario boy, they're just big golfers. That's what everybody is doing this summer.
Yep, golfing and fishing.
All right, golfing and fishing, and then hockey in a couple of months here. So again,
Yeah,
a reminder to our fans, October 21st is first face-off, and tickets are on sale now at cycloneshockey.com. The Cincinnati Cyclones will take on the Wheeling Nailers, a team James Hardie has yet to play, but is looking forward to doing so in just a couple of months here. So Hardz, let's get you going. Let's get you back on the course. Thanks for taking the time, man, and we're excited to see you come October.
awesome. Thank you.